So today, Year 10, we're going to be painting with different materials found inside your cupboard. I've got two plain pieces of paper, and as you can see on one of the pieces of paper, I've drawn some circular shapes and the other is plain. You may wish to use circular shapes or square shapes to get some sort of grid format. I've also got a bowl of coffee, tea and beetroot juice, and then I've looked through the cupboards to find some different herbs and spices that I will use today. If you are using herbs and spices, please be careful when you are breathing this in and make sure you keep your distance. You can also use some sauces, anything that you can find. Make sure you've got some water and paintbrushes and you've got some hot water to mix in as a paste, and also that you've got some sort of palette or bowls to mix in your herbs or spices. So I'm starting with my coffee and I'm making sure I'm sticking within this circular shape. Once I've used coffee on one side, I'm then going to paint some coffee on the second side to no particular shape. I'm just going to push it around the paper and get a different outcome. I'm going to label each time I use a different material just to remind myself once dry what the material was, as it might alter in shape or colour. I'm then going to start using my beetroot, and as you can see again, I'm following the same process, doing it in the circular shape and on the separate piece of paper. As you can see, as I'm going, I'm mixing my herb or spices into my palette, but you may choose to mix this into a bowl and applying warm water. You may want to play around with the consistency of this and make it thicker, or you may make it more watery, depending on how much water you'd like to put in there. You can play around with the consistency with your paintbrush until you're happy with the outcome. You can also use your fingers to push around the liquid or paste just to get a different type of texture, or you might want to place something on top. For example, this tea bag I'm placing on top and I've broken it slightly so a little bit of tea is coming out to get some texture. Once completed, you will need to allow these to dry. I would recommend to leave your circular sheet to one side to dry naturally and your second sheet to dry with a hairdryer or on top of a radiator. The reason for this is we are going to be adding some pen, so we do want this to dry quite quickly. So as you can see, I've dried this with a hairdryer and some of the shape may have spilled out, which is fine because we can cut round these and mount these separately. You will find that the colour is altered and you can brush off any excess powder, dust, herbs or spices that are on top, and you should have more of a flat surface. Once you're happy that it's dry and you've rubbed off any excess materials on top of your paper, I would like you to get a black fine liner or biro pen. Now you may find that during this process that it may run out quite quickly, so it is handy to have a black felt tip pen, or if you have a black Sharpie, that would be really useful. So in each of the different material boxes, I would like you to just add some different mark making patterns. We've practiced with mark making techniques over the last few weeks, so I'd like you to continue in the same fashion, maybe putting some of them into practice and playing around with different pressures of your pen and playing around with different surface techniques. So by the end of the lesson, Year 10, you should have a mark making sheet with pen. Alongside that, you should have your circular or grid sheet, which hasn't been touched with pen. Make sure you keep both of these safe, and don't worry if you have any mess on your pages, as we can cut these out and mount them and add some sort of title to them when we return to school. Make sure to keep the name of any herbs or spices underneath each image, as this will allow us to type it up and mount when we return to school.